Before I start my review for the latest week of Big Brother, I do in fact want to turn my attention to something that I know is on everyone's minds. So, of course, as we all know, for a few months now, we have seen numerous articles about Les Moonves being accused of all these various sexual accusations and things like that, and I don't like to give my thoughts on this publicly. This is one of those things where sometimes I will, but I don't usually like to make a video about it simply because, I don't know the full story, and I don't really know everything that happened, and, I can maybe, I'm not at all going to condone what that individual did, but it's just not something that I really do love talking about. It's a very umbrella topic in that sense, and it's not really something that I really do enjoy talking about, but because of how much this has possibly affected Big Brother, I basically have no choice but to talk about it because recently, Les Moonves decided that he is going to step down from CBS amidst of these many accusations. And look, I don't know if these are real or not. I've heard some people say that these are absolutely real, but then I've heard others say that all these women lied, and I don't really know if I believe that 12 different women would really lie about this, but either way, this sucks. I mean, this is a terrible situation for CBS to be in, and the thing that really puts them at a huge risk right now is that years ago, the chairman of CBS stepped down, I believe in like the 1980s, and what they did is they canceled every single show that was on that network and basically, rebranded the entire network and started fresh. So a lot of people are thinking that now that Les Moonves has stepped down, since he was kind of overseeing everything, that they're just going to get rid of everything. And I don't know if they're going to do it that quickly. I think it's one of those things that it's going to take a while for them to really come to a decision of what they're going to do, but I will absolutely say Big Brother is for sure at risk now. I mean, the main reason Big Brother is still on air is because Julie Chen is Les Moonves' wife, and, he's going to do whatever he can to keep her on the network and make sure that she's a part of it and make sure that her show is still going. Even if it didn't have the greatest ratings, I think definitely Big Brother would have been renewed this season. Usually at this time is when we hear that Big Brother's been renewed, and currently it still hasn't been renewed. So a lot of people are wondering, could this possibly be the end of Big Brother? And the answer is, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it is. If it is, then, at least they made it 20 seasons, I guess, but I'm not entirely sure if this is actually the end. It's quite crazy to think about, especially considering that I believe Celebrity Big Brother was renewed for a second season. Now, again, this was all before Les Moonves did step down, so I don't really know if that's going to have any effect on that, but overall, I'm just very conflicted with this whole thing. I don't want to say that Les Moonves is a horrible individual because, again, I don't know enough about all these accusations. I just know that there were 12 women that came forward. A lot of people think that they're possibly lying, and, sure, he could very well be a horrible person who, sexually assaulted these women and things like that, unbeknownst to Julie Chen. I think some of them were even before they were married, so I'm not entirely sure. Now, the other big reason why I have to talk about this is because at the very end of this episode, Julie did refer to herself as Julie Chen Moonves, which kind of makes it seem like she's sticking by him, she's going to support him, and I respect that. I'm sure they've had a nice marriage together. A lot of these accusations were way before they were together, so I can understand that. That being said, though, she can't live in denial. Like, she has to understand that, yes, these happened, and yes, he infected them, and if she's just going to idly stand by and not really sort of recognize, what he really did here, then yeah, that is a problem, and I am hoping that, that's not what's going on. I'm hoping that it's simply that she supports him in this given moment and respects his decision to step down. I'm hoping that it's not that she is, like, supporting what he did or things like that, and that she thinks that all these women are lying, because, like I said, I just don't know if I could really believe that. Maybe it's true, but I just don't really think I could believe that 12 women would lie about this. It just doesn't really, it seems like too big of a number for that to be possible. But either way, I just wanted to get that out of the way. I know it's something you guys would probably be asking me about if I didn't talk about it, so that's really my thoughts on the whole situation. I'm hoping that this is one of those things that even though he did step down, the big brother isn't affected by what happened. But considering, like I said, how, you know, big of a, how monumental Julie Chen really was to Les, and, you know, we know obviously we know that she's basically the main reason the show is still on the air. It really is not boding well for her at all. It's not boding well for the show. So we'll have to see the way it turns out. Like I said, it's really just a complicated issue overall. But that's really my thoughts on it. That's really all I have to say about it. Now, let's get on to the review.
Don't change the channel. Don't touch that dial. We got it all on UHF. Take off your sneakers.
Hey guys, it's Kevin Mark for this week of Big Brother 20, episodes 33 through 35. And I was really excited for this week, mainly because it is a double eviction, and I'm sure you guys are wondering, Kevin, why are you doing all 3 episodes in one? Usually what you do is, you know, you review the first 2 episodes and then you review the double eviction on its own, and sure, that's usually the case. However, the reason I'm not doing this is because this has to be one of the most uneventful weeks for a double eviction I have seen in recent Big Brother memory. I mean, I can't recall a time when it was this dull before double eviction and there was this little going on. There really is not much to talk about. Even the double eviction, there's not really a lot to talk about here. This video is not going to be very long at all because, like I said, there just really is not a lot to talk about when it comes to what really did go down this week. We're just going to get into it, though. So, as we know, Kaycee did win HOH, and at the time, I was excited. I was like, alright, this is really great. I'm excited to see what she really does do, and she really disappointed me. Not only did Kaycee play things extremely safe this week, but I think she really kind of screwed herself over, because here's the thing, Kaycee keeps winning all of these various comps, many of which she doesn't really need at all. I don't think she needed this HOH. You know, Brett, sure, maybe he would have come after Kaycee, but he was definitely coming after Angela, and Kaycee is just not really a good HOH at all. Yes, she does have a target in Haleigh, but she just isn't really doing anything for herself. She's doing it all for level 6, and because of us knowing that Haleigh is 100% going to be sent out the door, there really isn't much going on strategic-wise this week. It's a lot of just Haleigh going to Kaycee and telling her that I have you, and that we have each other, and that I'm always going to be on your side, but she's not really doing anything else about it, and that really is Haleigh's biggest problem, is that she has the right mentality, but she's just not saying or doing the right things. The biggest thing with Haleigh that I think has really been bothering me this season is that she always seems, like I said, to have the correct steps, but she doesn't do anything to really follow through with it and to really help herself in the game. And I think this week very much does show that. Haleigh feels extremely comfortable this entire week, and I really don't understand why. I mean, look at who's left in the house. You got Brett, you got Kaycee, you got Angela, you got Tyler. And she knows very well that those 4 are probably working together and that they're in some sort of thing. You know, she has alluded to this many times before. She has even brought it up to, like, Rockstar that, hey, these people are working together. Or, like, Fessy that, hey, these people are working together. She hasn't done anything about it, but she should have known very well that those 4 are working together. You know, she knows that Sam and JC are still around. So, the fact that she felt so comfortable in the game, I just really didn't understand. The other week, she's felt genuinely nervous, like she really wants to do something about it, but this week, she felt so comfortable, and it really did piss me off, I have to say, how comfortable she really did feel here. So like I said, because she feels so comfortable, and because Kaycee knows that she's going after Haleigh, most of this week is just a bunch of nonsense. It really did feel like they had almost nothing to work with this week, especially when we get to Sunday, and the majority of Sunday's episode is either a bunch of nonsense or focusing on past contestants that aren't even relevant in this season. Sure, am I happy for, you know, we see in the episode that we get to see Nicole again, and, you know, basically she thinks she's there for a luxury competition, which there's no way that's going to happen. We knew for sure that wasn't going to happen. Instead, turns out that Victor is going to propose to her, and am I happy for them? Yes, I think, you know, they seem like a happy couple. It's really cool that they got engaged. It was cool to see Derek and, you know, all of them again, but I was especially happy to see, like, Brittany and Danielle, people that we really don't hear that much about anymore, especially Danielle. I have not heard anything about Danielle since, like, Big Brother 15, so it was really cool to see Danielle again. It does continue the theme of bringing back past house guests in Big Brother 20, which I don't think they've done nearly enough with. So it was cool to see them again, but again, this takes up like half of the episode, and again, it was cool to see, but it's not really something that we need here. It just kind of illustrates just how boring most of this week was, how there really wasn't anything going on. Like, we do get this nice segment with Angela and Tyler, where Angela is kind of getting us more into who she really is, how she was involved in, like, gymnastics, and this was something that, you know, she didn't have the greatest relationship with her mom, so that's why she's so emotionless now, and cool. It's cool to see her opening up and things like that, but this is usually something we see at the beginning of the season rather than the towards the, you know, the end point. And the fact that it's happening now, it's cool. Like, I'm glad we're getting more of a look into who Angela really was. It doesn't really make up for a lot of the things she said this season, because she has definitely said some things that aren't really, you know, something that she should be proud of, for sure. It's not nearly like the extent of, like, Big Brother 15 or last year level, or even JC level, but it's still definitely not something she should be proud of. But it was cool to get a look into who Angela really was overall. I definitely did enjoy seeing that. But despite that, aside from that, most of the episode is like JC hula hooping, or Angela having this whole montage where she talks about how she has this keen sense of smell, and she's able to have a different smell for each house guest. And I just did not care about any of this. It wasn't interesting at all. In the end, Kaycee does nominate Haleigh and Sam. I know, very surprising. Again, not really much of anything to talk about on Sunday's episode. Nothing really happened at all, and that's really all there is to say. Thankfully, Wednesday does give us just a little bit more, but not really. You know, the most we get with Wednesday is the stuff going on between JC and Brett, and I do like this dynamic. I like the idea that these two are working together. I like that Brett is realizing that Angela and Kaycee are standing in his way, and he wants to go after them. I really did like seeing that, and, you know, again, I thought that was really good. But again, the show didn't really focus on that. They focused more on this sort of, like, you know, sitcom-y vibe between the two, and honestly, I can't stand JC. After all the allegations he's gotten and things like that, I really can't stand JC at all. I think he's just really annoying, and the show keeps trying to portray him as this really fun guy, and that's not really who he is at all. He has done a lot of things that the show is not covering, and I really wish they would. And they really try very hard to get us to feel bad for JC, especially in the hometown messages, which we usually see in a live episode. I think that just shows how behind they really are, and that they really have nothing to show, so they're just going to shove it into a Wednesday episode, which felt very odd. But we get this segment of Tyler talking about his father and how he was kind of absent in his life. And sure, it's sad that Tyler lost his father at such a young age. Like, sure, I did feel bad for him. What I didn't feel bad for is JC, how none of his family was there. None of your family is there because of the endless TMZ headlines, and they're most likely appalled by your behavior, and that's probably why they're not around. You know, it makes sense why they're not really there. And, you know, so I'm not surprised that they didn't show up, you know, especially amidst all the controversy that JC's had. Obviously, he doesn't know about it. He has been reprimanded a couple times, but he doesn't know the amount of controversy he's gotten, and obviously his family doesn't want to be a part of that, so it makes sense why they weren't included in that goodbye, in that, you know, hometown message. But either way, just I don't like that the show is trying to portray JC as this really fun guy, because they're really trying to boost up his campaign for America's favorite player, which I sincerely hope he doesn't end up getting. He doesn't deserve it at all. He has not played a good game. He's not fun. He's been inappropriately touching house guests, so no, he definitely does not need to get it. I know that he's gay, I know that he is Hispanic, but that does not take away from the fact that JC has done a lot of awful shit this season and should not be supported just because of his ethnicity or his sexuality. That is not at all a reason to support him, and that's really what I feel about that. But like I said, other than that, there's not really a lot going on in this episode either. We see Haleigh really talking about how, oh, I really want to win the veto, and I really want to do well. And even though she says that, she then proceeds to take, I think, at least 2 hours to win to play this comics veto, which... Come on, 2 hours? Really? 2 hours? Like, I get it that obviously it was complicated, but she really said she wanted to win. She actually thought that she was, someone was gonna not beat that time, that somehow she was gonna be the leading one. Like, no, there's no way she was gonna win that. I did like that they tried to change up the BB comics a little bit. That was cool to see, that it was something a little bit different where one of them, had, like, false information or something like that. That was cool to see overall. But Kaycee once again ends up winning the veto, which she did not need at all. I'm really hoping that after this, Tyler is really considering taking Kaycee to the final 2, because this is not, he's really reconsidering that, because this is not at all what he needs to be doing. But we'll get more into that at the end of this video. But either way, she does not use the veto, and now we'll just talk about everything that went down in the double eviction. Which, even at that, there's not really a lot to talk about here. The biggest thing going on is very early on in the episode. We see that Brett has this plan where he wants to go after Angela and Kaycee, and he knows that he's in a final 2 with Tyler, and this is a good idea, admittedly. I think that going after those two, yeah, they are very much standing in his way. The problem is Tyler is way more loyal to those two than he ever would be to Brett, solely because of the fact that their final 2 was established way later than his final 2 with Angela or Kaycee. So I definitely do think that it was a good move for him to go to them about, simply because those two he's a lot closer with. But I do like that Brett is legitimately trying to make a big move here. I really did like seeing that overall. We'll get to how it played out, but basically, Haleigh does end up leaving for the first part of the double eviction, which, of course, I wasn't really surprised by this at all. But the problem with this eviction is not necessarily that Haleigh was evicted, because it was obvious she was going to be. It's what ends up happening after, because Kaycee and Angela staged this horrible plan where basically they're gonna try to make it seem like this was all in Brett's doing, that Brett was the one who wanted Haleigh out, that he was really pushing for her to leave, and that Kaycee and Angela were the ones who were trying to get her to stay. And in theory, this is not a bad idea. It does a good, they're doing a good job of, taking away any sort of jury votes that Brett could have possibly had from Haleigh, because Haleigh obviously is not going to want anything to do with Brett after that. It'll definitely come from an emotional place, and, even though she's probably going to respect the game he did, at the end of the day, jury voters tend, especially in recent season, the jury tends to vote very emotionally. So, in theory, it is a good idea. The problem is, Brett is the next person that Angela and Kaycee are targeting. So, I don't know why they thought that, this is a good idea, when they know for sure that Brett is going to follow Haleigh in the jury house, and they're most likely going to compare notes and realize that Angela and Kaycee played them. I don't know why they decided this was a good idea, because things go pretty much exactly as planned. Tyler does end up winning HOH, and he does in fact put up JC and Sam, but in the end they do end up backdooring Brett, which Angela did win that POV, and basically Brett does get sent out the door. And that's really all there is to it. I'm glad to see Brett take it well. Both him and Haleigh did take it relatively well. He respects Tyler's game and things like that. But like I said, this was not a good move for Angela and Kaycee. This was not something that they needed to do. The person to get out was like JC. And I understand that obviously Brett was coming after Angela or Kaycee, and they knew that. But the whole thing with Haleigh, that was not at all where they need to go with this, and now I think it's really going to cost them in the game moving forward, and I'm definitely, they definitely should be a little bit more worried heading into the last 2 weeks of this game overall. And look, sure, Brett's demise, I think, was a long time coming, but I just really wanted to see him get his hands dirty. It's not so much because of the fact that I thought Brett would be, an optimal choice to win, because, no, he wouldn't. I mean, sure, it'd be cool to see him win, but there's no possible way he would have won the season. I just really wanted to see it play out. If anything, I would have much rather taken a Brett HOH this week over a Kaycee HOH. I really didn't take note of that last week, but I genuinely wish that Kaycee had not had it been the other way around, where Kaycee came really short and Brett ended up winning, just because I think it would have been a lot more interesting. Angela would have gone up, Kaycee or Angela would probably be out the door right now, and I think things would be a lot more interesting overall. But unfortunately, where we are now, that's just simply not the case, and we just kind of need to accept how the rest of this season is really going to play out. And that's really all there is to talk about. I know, a double eviction, and there's barely anything going on. I can't believe this actually happened. I can't believe how predictable things really were here. But like I said, there's really nothing to talk about. There's really nothing to do here. In terms of what's going on with Angela and Kaycee, like I said, I think between all of Kaycee's comp wins, the fact that she's won HOH, and she won Veto 3 times in a row, Tyler really needs to start reconsidering, bringing Kaycee to the final 2, because from the jury's perspective, of course not from what we've seen, they don't see what we see. They don't see the diary rooms. They just see who's left. They just see the POV, they see the veto. They see the eviction. They don't see what's going on behind the scenes. So, sure, Tyler's been pulling a lot of the strings, but I feel like to the jury, that's going to come across as not nearly as instrumental as he really was. And I don't think that Tyler is going to get that credit that he really deserves if he plans on bringing Kaycee to the final 2, because you know who does have a good track record strategic-wise? Kaycee. Kaycee has been knocking it out of the park lately strategic-wise. Social game, not really. I mean, she's terrible when it comes to social game, especially when it comes to the whole, I'm doing this for level 6, and level 6 is going to get to the end. Like, you do realize that there's only one person that's winning, right? Like, I don't know why she isn't thinking about herself and just keeps doing what level 6 wants her to do. But even at that, she did have a good bond with Haleigh. She did have a good bond with some of the other house guests that have left. So, again, I think if he brings Kaycee to the final 2, this is not at all a good idea for him. Who he should absolutely bring to the final 2 is Angela. Angela is 100% the right person to bring here, because the jury is not a fan of Angela at all. They all pretty much do hold something against her, and they're not going to let that go. I think if Angela's there next to Tyler, it'll be an exact repeat of what happened with Paul, where the jury is just incredibly bitter, and they vote Tyler just to spite Angela. And I think in that sense, Tyler will 100% walk away if he does end up doing that. So I think definitely he does need to switch his targets there. I know he plans on cutting Angela, but come on, we've seen the relation that these two are forming. He's not cutting Angela. That's definitely not happening. At most, he will cut her in the final 3, but before then, I don't see it happening. I think JC and Sam are most definitely going to leave in these next 2 episodes, and it's going to be very uneventful. I think it's going to be kind of a slog together, because again, there's just simply not a lot going on here. I would love it if we get to see him target Kaycee or something like that. That would be really cool, but I just don't want to see a Kaycee HOH. I don't want to see Kaycee win HOH here, because things are going to become extremely predictable like they have this week, and I just don't really want to see that happen. You know, I do think that it's a good idea to keep Sam around because, again, Sam is a good person to sit next to, but at the same time, I could honestly see the jury just voting for Sam because of the fact that she was a good person and because of the fact that she didn't really do anything that bad, like strategic-wise. I could definitely see them doing that. I'm hoping they don't do that, but considering how the jury's been in the past few years, I could absolutely see them doing that, and I'm really hoping they don't, but I think Sam is definitely someone to cut. JC, nobody is voting for JC. If he takes JC at the end, then a lot of people will vote for Tyler, and he will probably walk away unanimously. But either way, guys, like I said, not really much to talk about here. Next week, we do, in fact, have the Wednesday and the Thursday eviction, so I will be on Wednesday to talk about everything that happened on Sunday and Wednesday. Hopefully, more goes down in the next week than what happened this week, because there was literally nothing to talk about. I very much apologize that most of this video was taken up by me talking about Julie Chen's husband, but either way, that's really all there is to talk about right now. There's really nothing going on in the world of Big Brother 20. It's cool to see level 6 getting what they want, but after a while, it just starts to get boring. And to be honest, I am really starting to get taken out of it, and I really am just kind of waiting for the season to end at this point. I do want Tyler to walk away with that 50K because I think he absolutely does deserve it. You know, I do want him to walk away with that 500K because I do think he absolutely does deserve it, but I don't think he's really has the right mindset right now. I think Angela is the person he needs to take to Final 2, not Kaycee, and I am hoping that he does decide to do that in the end. But either way, guys, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys saw this week of Big Brother overall, left your thoughts, and we'll see you guys in my next video, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.